Good day, everybody. My name is Anthony Stirrup, and I am the reigning Mr. University of the Bahamas. Thank you again for tuning in to the UB Young Men's Conference. Today, we'd like to give a special shout out to Pace Academy for girls, and we also like to give a special shout out to the fact that they are actually using our Young Men's Conference to teach young fathers about fatherhood and manhood. So, moving right on, we're going to announce our first speaker, Mr. Keyron Smith. Keyron Smith is the Chief Project Officer at One Eleuthera Foundation. He's responsible for implementing the Foundation's strategic plan, projects, and programs. He's completed a Master's of Arts degree with distinction in the United Kingdom at the University of Manchester, majoring in political science, specializing in governance and public policy. His research interests in decentralization and local governance, democracy and elections, and sustainable development. Smith is also certified in project management with a project management institution, USA. He previously served as an assistant director of grants and a policy fellow in the Office of the Corporate and Foundation Relations and the Government and the Public Policy Institute at the University of the Bahamas. In the Office of the Corporate and Foundation Relations, he was responsible for development, reviewing, and assessing university grant proposals and reports, strategizing and developing appropriate donor moves, management strategies to support the universities and institutional priorities and financial needs from the corporations and foundations. As a policy fellow with the Government and Public Policy Institute, he developed proposals, engaged and analyzed research, and raised public awareness for the nation's issues. Also, Smith served as a campus sustainability coordinator and led the Office of Campus Sustainability Establishment, where he introduced several new initiatives, such as the University Recycling Program. He has served on the National Development Plan Steering Committee, representing youth during the drafting of the National Development Plan, and also worked on the consultancy team for the drafting of the Bahamas' first sustainable development goals, country progress reports. Smith is also a UB alumni who serves as a student government president, college council, and transition board of trustees, members with the instrumental in the transition from College of the Bahamas to University of the Bahamas. He obtained a Bachelor of Science degree in biology with a minor in chemistry, and was the recipient of the UB Alumni Association Leadership Award and School of Chemistry and Environmental Life Sciences Overall Award. He's recipient of the 2015 Prime Minister Cup and the 2015 National Leadership Youth Award. So at this time, please welcome Mr. Keyron Smith.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. So today, my topic, or what I want to talk to you about, is really about beating the odds. You know, when I talk about beating the odds, it's about you succeeding despite the challenges and obstacles stacked against you. It's you accomplishing your goals even though the chances seem very slim. So I want to ask you a few questions. How many of you have had somebody or has had somebody tell you that you would never amount to anything? How many of you felt like you would fail because of your current circumstances or because of the circumstances you were in? How many of you was told that because of bad grades or because you got in problems that you would never become anything in life? I had teachers that didn't believe in me. I had people who thought I would fail. And I've also encountered challenges. One of the biggest challenges in this country is being a young person and being youthful. And it's something that we will continue to grow and continue to face, but these are some of the existing challenges that you see today. I want to start with the story of a company. It was a company that was just launched in 1953. The company was called the Rocket Chemical Company, and it was a staff of 3 And they were set out to create a line of rust prevention, solvents, and degreasers for the aerospace industry. They were working in a small lab in San Diego, California. And guess what happened? As they were developing this water displacement formula, they attempted it a first time. The first time it didn't work out. They tried it a second time. Second time it didn't work out. They revamped the formula again. They went at it a third time. It didn't work out. And guess what happened? They went a fourth time, a fifth time, a sixth time, a seventh time, an eighth time. Now, anybody know that a company that would have failed on this amount of times, you have investors that would probably be worried about whether this thing could be successful. You know, the odds are truly stacked against them. And when you think about it, they went at it a 10th time, a 11th time, a 12th time, a 25th time. They got the formula wrong 39 times. But guess what? On the 40th try, they got the secret formula. This company now stands and possesses one of the most used products all over the world. And I'm sure some of you have that product in your very home today, and that product is WD-40. Many people don't know the story about WD-40 and how it got its name. But it all starts with a spark, and that's my first point. I want to talk about the spark of determination and beating the odds. I remember having a spark. I remember being on the campus at UB. I was a student. You know, there were some things that I love. I love the institution. But when I first got there, I remember there were some things I was frustrated about, like long lines and the changing of professors at the last minute. And one of the things that sparked me is, hey, how do we solve this problem? You have to start with trying to solve a problem, but you need that spark of determination to see it through. And I became, tired. But when I took that step, I ended up becoming a senator in the student government. That later turned into me being a Senate speaker. That later ended up with me becoming a student government president. I ended up joining the college council. I ended up helping the university with its transition from College of the Bahamas to UB. Now, it all started off with just a spark. Like, I never knew that one movement or one action could lead to such a different path that I did not anticipate. So I'm not saying that your story will be my story. Everybody have their own story, their own testimony. But it all started with you saying that I will not let anyone, any circumstance, stop me from reaching my goal. But determination goes far beyond saying it. The level of determination will never be measured by how well you can say it. It's dictated by your actions. Actions determine outcomes, and outcomes makes your dreams a reality. And so after all of that encounter, guess what happened? I ended up proving a lot of people wrong. But this point I want, and this is my second point. Your purpose should never be to prove people wrong. Well, what do you mean? People told me I wouldn't amount to anything, that I would never make it if it didn't say this, or it wasn't sure of what the outcome was going to be. But you don't need to prove them wrong, because you are always going to find people who will say negative things. And it's not your job to satisfy them. Do not give them that power over you, because they are only a distraction. And do not let your distraction be their empowerment. Never let people determine or dictate your destiny or your success. Never let your circumstances dictate your destiny or success. Stop trying to prove people wrong. It's now time for you to be determined to prove yourself right. It's not about the awards. It's not about accolades. It's using your spark to do what matters. So the point I'm getting at here is, you must believe in yourself. You have to believe in your vision, and you have to find your spark of determination. You also have to change your methodology. Now let's look at WD-40. They tried it a first time, second time, third time. and God knows how many other times. But the one thing they always did was they always changed their methodology in order to get the formula right. Some people always say, well, if it isn't fixed, if it's not broken, then why fix it? But life is always constantly evolving. Life is always changing. I'll use Stephen Curry for an example. You could be the best three-point shooter of all time, but if you go into the same spot on the three-point line to shoot your three-point shot, eventually they're going to learn your strategy. They're going to learn that, hey, I know at the last minute, Keyron is going to go to that spot and he's going to shoot that shot. And guess what's going to happen? They can block your ball. So now you have to find a way to change your strategy. Maybe you may have to make a layup instead of taking a three-point shot, or maybe you have to take a dribble inside and make a jump shot. But you have to understand that life is constantly changing, and so you have to constantly change your methodology to adapt, to beat your odds. COVID-19 has taught us that. I know everybody tired of hearing about COVID and what it has done, but so many businesses have had to change their strategy, had to change the way they do things. Some people who didn't offer delivery services now had to offer delivery services. Life is constantly evolving. You have to constantly evolve in your methodology and your strategy and the way you do things. We talk about the naysayers. We talk about people who created this space for us that has been negative in some ways. But very often we don't talk about the people that are in our corner. And what I want to say to you is, you have to embrace those people. While there are people who have negative things to say, or your circumstances might be not right, there are people with resources. There are people who want to provide mentorship that's going to be in your corner, but you have to take advantage of the opportunity and embrace them. I remember the words of our CEO. He says, Keyron, they talk about age. He said, you're a little bit behind. He says, Alexander the Great conquered the world at the age of 25. Those words continue to stick with me. People come in places in your life where you least expect to find them. So I say to you, do you have someone like that in your life? Is it a friend? Is it a teacher? Is it family? It may even be a stranger. It may be a pastor. Maybe somebody you haven't encountered yet. But what I say to you is, when you do encounter that person, and be careful who you select as a mentor, but when you do find that person, I've had so many mentors, so many people in my life who I truly say have helped me and continue to help me to this day. I say embrace them. So these stories I share with you, COVID-19, everybody hates that word now, but it has taught us some valuable lessons that in the midst of doom and gloom, that there is opportunity. All you need is a spark of determination. All you need is a spark to do what matters. Sometimes you have to change your methodology. Sometimes it's embracing someone, having somebody in your corner. I want to leave you with the words of Dr. Miles Monroe. And I use this quote a lot. But it says, you must believe deep inside of you, you were born to do more than survive, make a living and die. You were created with a gift trapped inside you. Your job is to find that gift and serve it to the world. One of the ways that you can beat the odds is finding your spark and embracing your opportunities. My question to you is, will you beat the odds? I know I will.
Thank you again, Keyron, for those encouraging words, and your message truly was inspiring. Our next guest I'd like to introduce is Carlos Emmanuel Palacious. Carlos Emmanuel Palacious was the first Bahamian coastal engineer. He's a licensed professional engineer in the Bahamas, Canada, USA, as well as being globally certified as a project management professional. In 2018, Professional Services Bahamas named Carlos on the prestigious Top 40 Under 40 list. He was selected to represent the American Society of Civil Engineers as an emerging leader in 2015. Carlos is the founder and managing principal of Bain, a multinational, interdisciplinary development consulting group with teams in the Bahamas, Florida, Turks and Caicos Islands, and St. Kitts. With over 60 in-house staff, Bain has completed over 1,200 projects across over 70 islands and keys of the Bahamas and the Caribbean. Bain's services include architect, engineering, environmental, geomatics, and surveying, drilling and testing, and construction support services, including regulatory compliance. Carlos has led many of the largest and most nationally significant public and private sector waterfront projects and studies in recent times. Carlos is a distinguished Toastmasters member of the Inter-American Development Bank, Civil Society, Bahamas Chamber of Commerce, Energy and Environment Committee, National Economic Recovery Committee, Energy Environment Stewardship Committee, Green Economy Advisory Committee of the Bahamas Development Bank, and former Accreditation Committee, Chair and Board of Director of Professional Engineers of the Bahamas, former Director of the Bahamas Society of Engineers, and former Chairman of the Junkanoo Independent Review. Carlos is a regular presenter at the national and regional forums in the areas of hurricane preparedness and response, climate change, adaptation, and sustainable development. Carlos is married to Anastasia, and they have a daughter, Cario, and a son, Chosen. At this time, please welcome our guest, Carlos Palacious.
Thank you, UB. Appreciate you. Good evening. Thank you so much, Mr. UB, for that outstanding introduction, and thank you to the organizers and the facilitators for putting on this continued effort where we bring young men together, men who are looking to do better, who are looking to improve, and who are looking to take it to the next level in life. Thank you so much for that outstanding introduction. It is a pleasure to be here. I am humbled to be a servant for you tonight, sharing some thoughts, some aspects, and some inspirations that will hopefully lead you to your path of success. As a 34-year-old millennial, as I'm told I am, I have had the chance to have gone through some things that I think would be worth sharing. Some things that I would have hoped would have been shared with me when I would have come to a men's forum where you look at how young men can build upon the knowledge and the network of each other to help to move this country forward and help move society forward. And today, this will be structured under the acronym MEN. We will start out by looking at mastery. How do we find the best within ourselves? How do we focus on the small things and understand how we can repeatedly do steps to get them bigger and better? Then we will look at the E, education. We will look at programs in our communities that help us to meet and interact with some of the brightest and best, as well as continuing education that will allow us to help to further our skills and move forward on our paths to success. And of course, the N, the power of networking. The ability to be a forerunner speaker to the great Ricardo, Deveaux, and Rodney Bain. After speaking behind Keyron, is just an outstanding opportunity to show the power of a network to get on a program. How did a Palacious make the cut? No, this isn't Father Palacious or Reverend, this is just the son. But here we are with the opportunity to be on the program with the heavyweights of our nation. The power of your network. You mightn't have it, but you should know where to find it. Gents, let's have some fun tonight. As you can see, I'm a casual speaker. I am not here to interview you for a job. You do not have to wear a suit and a tie. If you have one, you could take it off. If you have sleeves, roll them up. If you have a drink now, because you would have been out tonight, please pour another one. Because tonight is a night to learn, to network, and to grow. So the first step on our road to manhood in our acronym, MEN, is mastery. It took me 14 years to really master being on time. And I gave this similar story a few weeks ago. And I went back and I calculated. And I realized initially, I thought it was 12 years when I had moved back home. But it was 14 years from the day I woke up one morning and said, I am tired of being late. 14 of my 34 years were spent to date just to get to somewhere at the time that I said I would get there. Now, some people would say, come on, it's Bahamian time. You have to go with your culture. Others would say, what's the big deal? 15 minutes late, 10 minutes late. To be late is to be disrespectful to those who are looking at you for leadership. And I use that intentionally because we are all leaders. Whether you are here speaking on programs, whether you are just in your household where your kids will look up to you one day, whether it's your cousin who might be doing things that you don't agree with, but who looks at the small incremental steps of success that you take, that is where leadership comes in. The fact that you are here tonight means you're a leader. A part of leadership is understanding that you have a lot to learn. And mastery is one of those aspects. So start with the small incremental steps. Realize what in your life might be holding you back from the success that you foresee. I knew walking into keynotes late, which happened to me in real life, was unacceptable. I knew that showing up to client negotiations 10 minutes late with cultures where that is totally unacceptable, to the point where it cost me personally and our company significant money, meant that these were the things that I needed to master. Something as simple as effectively leaving home or wherever I'm going with enough time to count for traffic. As simple as using a calendar, a schedule to put things in so that I don't miss windows. That was my struggle. And you have to determine yours. Because each one of us, at any given time, should focus on the one thing we want to master. Determine what that is as you go into 2022. And take the small steps, whether it's weight loss, whether it's communication, whether it's healthy eating habits, and make sure that you master that. Be patient with yourself. It took me 14 years to just be on time or to show up somewhere where I said at the time that I would be there. So remember, it's a long journey, but every step forward is a step in the right direction. So if you agree with me tonight, put that in the chat for me right now. Let's go in the right direction. I got an amen from Keyron. Thank you. Next along our journey, E, education. The day we stop learning is the day we die. The day we stop learning is the day we die. We have opportunities like none other in previous generations. The information age, the internet, and now the metaverse connects us all in these virtual spaces where we can get any information on any single thing that we want. If I had to tell myself something when I would have attended a conference like this, it would be to answer every question that could possibly pop in my mind, because there is no possible excuse for ignorance. Now, opinions are one thing, but ignorance is another. Understanding the world is a vast place, that the Bahamas is a small bubble, and understanding how we fit, how we're interconnected, how all of the varieties and the different cultures of life come together is important to who you are as a young man and your contribution to the world. When I was in my 20s, I had no idea. When I started out at Caribbean Coastal Services as an intern, making $26,000, that one day I would become managing principal of the company and start many other companies. Today, we have companies in several countries. We do e-trade around the world. We manufacture, we grow in Eden farms, and we do engineering of some of the largest projects in the region. We have an outstanding team of people. some of the brightest and the best who come together with us to produce some of the solutions to the greatest problems. Educate yourself. Take the time to look at those YouTube videos, to go on simple things like Wikipedia, and to network in programs like Toastmasters, programs like Rotary, Kiwanis, etc. I wouldn't have known the great Rodney Bain if it wasn't for Toastmasters. I wouldn't have known the great Don Sargent if it wasn't for Toastmasters. These are people who are in this room with me tonight, and I am honored to know them because of Toastmasters Club 1600. That is where young men like me come, get stripped down, and have the opportunity to have the confidence to stand in front of a camera tonight to present with no notes and no material. Gents, you are a man. We have a duty. Whether you are Christian and believe the path of the Bible or just believe in a higher being, you have to know that you are only as good as those you keep around you. And that's why the last letter in that acronym is N, your network. You show me who you fly with, and I'll tell you how high you could go. If you hang around with the chickens, you could be an eagle as much as you want, but you won't take off one day in your life. Surround yourself with persons who have similar values and have similar inspirations. Remember, you have to still look out for those who are around you. It's not that you're elevating beyond those around you, but you need to have people pouring into you as much as you pour into others. Remember, if you have a 12-ounce cup and somebody else only has a 6-ounce cup, that's not their fault. You could pour your 12 ounces into them and that will overflow. There's no way to make a 6-ounce cup bigger than a 6-ounce cup. But you need to find people in your life who have a 24-ounce cup. You know that big Slurpee drink, the one with the big straw, that you could go all day? That's what you need in your life. Find the network that empowers you. The men who will lead around you. Those who you wake up and you can see and you know that they have characteristics that make you want to be better. They don't even have to know you. You know who some of my role models are? Some of my role models are people who have no idea I even watch them. It's people like T.D. Jakes. He's my role model. He mentors me through the videos I watch. You can interact and be inspired by many people. I'll give you another example. The guy who cleans my office at Airport Industrial Park. He comes in every evening smiling. Mr. Palacious, how was your day? I say, John, I had an outstanding day. How was yours? He says, I had the best day because I'm here for another day. His energy inspires me. And once again, it does not matter what sphere of life you're in, where you're coming from, or where you think you're going. Surround yourself with people who are positive, who feed into you, and whose cup will overflow into yours. Gents, this is one of the hardest times of our lives. There's no question about it. If there's ever been a time when we have to come together, when we have to reflect, when we have to be intentional about growing together, it's now. We're in a global pandemic. I was speaking to one of the presenters who was talking about some family members they've lost in this COVID pandemic. And I'm sure most of us, or many of us, have someone who we know, either who we've lost or who has lost someone. I encourage you, be a source of strength for those who are around you. And be surrounded by those who can be your ring of support when your day of reckoning comes. We will all be continued to push and continue to push forward. Life will continue to add the plates and the weights on top of us. But just like a weightlifter, we will lift those weights and continue to press on. Because we are men. We are blessed and we are highly favored. We are here tonight to determine how to be successful. We have learned how to master various elements of our lives. We have learned how to educate ourselves and be better. And we have learned how to surround ourselves with the right network. When manhood was gifted upon us by our great Creator, He put a vision in us and He put an opportunity in front of us. I encourage you in 2022 to find your small incremental steps. Take one at a time. Continue to grow, continue to learn, continue to reach out, and let's all get into 2022 with the best version of ourselves and take this country and our future to heights that we could never see. I thank you so much for the opportunity, and I look forward to networking with you in the near future.
Our next speaker is a man who needs no introduction. So, without further ado, Please welcome this time Dr. Joseph Ferguson.
Thank you, Mr. UB, for your kind words of introduction, but I believe y'all set me up. But nonetheless, I am truly grateful for this opportunity to be here at this men's conclave where men encourage men. I thought about what I would say. And several months ago, I wrote a story for my students at the University of the Bahamas who wanted to know why I was the way I was. And I told them that I'm no different from them. I was the same student. In fact, I was even worse than them. And if I had the time, I would tell my story right now on how I was a zero. But I'll just paraphrase it and then give some nuggets and make way for the next presenter. I was an average student. In fact, I was a subpar student. I was a below average student. I didn't do what I had to do. I squandered many opportunities that was presented to me. And I just wasted my time. I almost dropped out of college, if the truth be told. I hope my mom's not watching, but I almost dropped out of college. I was barely making the grades, and I was trying to find out what I was going to do. But the Lord has a way of just turning things around, that I was granted a scholarship to go off to school, and I had to make a decision, what was I going to do? And if I be honest with you, I said to myself, I'm going off to school, I'm gonna go out with a bang and have some fun the way I've seen it done on TV and everything else. I'm gonna just enjoy my last year, probably get kicked out, and then come home and find a regular job. But I went off to school, and my first class, I had to introduce myself to the class, and I told them that I was from the Bahamas, and the response I got was, wow, I've heard a lot of great things about people from the Bahamas, and I'm looking forward to what you can do. And I said to myself, wow, what do I do here? Do I do what I had planned to do, party, maybe join a fraternity, have some fun, or do I live up to what people are thinking about my country? And I made up my mind then that I had to represent myself. And I had to realize that I was my biggest failure. I was the one that placed the obstacles in front of me that prevented me from succeeding. I made many excuses. I complained about everything. And I had to realize that I was my biggest setback in everything that I was trying to do or that I hoped to do. I go on and I explain my story in detail, and I encourage you, if you're interested in receiving the story, please reach out to the coordinator. I will provide a copy of the story, and I freely share it so that others who are at the university can know that I too went through what you went through. But look at me now. I was from almost being a dropout, from being a zero, I am now at the pinnacle of my career. From being an almost dropout at the college, now I have a PhD in mathematics. The struggle was so real, but the journey was so rewarding. And so as I leave you, I just want to leave you guys with a few encouraging words. And my first encouragement is for those who desire to be what they want to be. You have to recognize it will not be handed to you. You will have to prove yourself worthy. The bar has been set, and it will not be lowered because you cannot reach it. Now, what do I mean by that? I encounter so many students at the university that say they want to be the next great doctor. They want to be the next great politician. They want to be the lawyer, but they're not bringing anything to the table. There's a bar that has been set, and it's called excellence. And it should never have to be lowered because you cannot reach it. Yes, you want to be great, but you have to understand that greatness requires you to climb the ladder of success. It's not going to be lowered for you. You have to do what you have to do. You have to recognize your faults, recognize your weaknesses, and then go about and fix it. My second words of encouragement for you was stop making excuses. It's your failure. You need to own it, and you need to fix it. So many a times at the university when students are not doing well, the cry is always, oh, it was the professor. I had Jofi. He didn't explain it to me well. I didn't have enough time. And all of those are just excuses for why you didn't do what you needed to do. True story, while I was working on my PhD, I was talking to my advisor, and I was trying to solve a problem. And I went to my advisor, and I said, Dr. Kim, I can't figure out what's going wrong with the code. And my advisor said something very profound to me. He said to me, you really need to stop coming to me with your problems and come back when you have the problem solved. And I was hurt, or hurted, as the young people say by it. And I couldn't understand, and I went home depressed, and I realized what he was trying to tell me. He was trying to tell me that you are where you are because of the skills that you brought to the table. Everything that you need, you have already. You have the tools available to you, and you are not going to be successful, you are not going to be great until you figure out how to work with what you have to get to what you need. And so many times I have to tell students at the university, I hear your problem, but trust me, you got it. Figure it out. But I don't know how. Well, come back when you have an idea. I'm not as cruel as my advisor, but you have to be willing to explore. Every class that you take at the university most likely requires a prerequisite. And the prerequisite is the foundation for you to do what you need to do. So when you are encountering a problem, you have the foundation. And I want to encourage you as men, you guys have the foundation to do whatever it is that you need to do. Stop expecting to be spoon-fed. It doesn't work like that. We spoon-feed you when you're small. We spoon-feed you when you're in high school. And now you want us to spoon-feed you in college. And then what do you think is going to happen when you get out there in the real world? More spoon-feeding? It doesn't work that way. You need to understand your failures. You need to understand what you are lacking and then go about fixing it. Because if someone else has to fix your problems for you, you're never really going to learn the life's lesson. My third encouragement for those who desire to be what they want to be. This isn't popcorn. It will not happen in minutes. It's a lifelong journey, and stop expecting perfection on the first go. We all see the people in our lives we want to be. We all see that famous politician. We all see that renowned doctor. We all see the great Engineer Carlos that came before me. And we say, I want to be like that. But it takes time. There's a process that you have to go through. You're not going to sit in the class or sit on the job and get it the first go, and then all of a sudden you are an expert. This isn't popcorn. And if the true story is told, all of the great people that you look up to, they went through a process. And if the truth be told, they are still in that process because we are always learning. There's always more for us to experience. And I want to encourage you as men, it's okay to not get it on the first go. Learn from your mistakes so that when you encounter issues and problems in life, you are equipped to handle those situations. There's a class that I teach at the university, and it requires students to use a graphing calculator. And I always try to tell the students, practice using the calculator. Just because you were able to and get the answer on the first go around doesn't mean you have perfected using your calculator. Because if you practice using your calculator, I assure you, you're going to encounter problems that you haven't seen before. And then you'll be able to know how to deal with those problems if you have invested the time to perfect your skill. No matter what it is you do in life, it takes time. If you want to be an artist, it takes time from that first drawing to when you can get to the point where you can do the masterpiece. If you want to be a programmer, it takes time from learning the if loop statements to where you can just radically write whatever code that you want to write. It's not popcorn. Stop expecting immediate results. There's always something more you can learn. My encouragement for those who want to be what they desire to be: stop being so quick to snap back when you are challenged. Stop, listen, see what applies to you, and change it if necessary, and then move on. Gentlemen, you're not going to always be perfect. You're going to encounter those who may disagree with you. That's not a reason to start a fight. If the young gentleman, Mr. UB, and I are having a discussion and he says something profound that I like, I'm going to encourage it. But if he says something that makes me go, huh? My objective is now to listen, hear his point of view. Not everyone is going to agree with you. People from SAC will never ever agree with people from QC, but that doesn't mean we can't respect them. We have to be willing to listen. And when there is disagreement, I guess the point I'm making is that violence is never the answer. Learn what he's saying. Listen to what they are saying. And see how you can apply it to your life. See how you can use what he's saying, maybe not in this arena that you're conversating, but in another arena. And then finally, my last bit of encouragement for those who desire to be what they want to be. Your faculty, your supervisors are your greatest asset. Reach out to them. They are willing to help you, not spoon feed you, but help. Whatever it is that you want to be, the faculty, your supervisor, is the best guide you're going to have in that endeavor. And what do I mean by this? Well, if you want to be a doctor, hang with doctors. If you want to be an engineer, hang with engineers. Eagles never hang with the chickens. Chickens stay on the ground, but eagles soar. Whatever it is that you want to be in life, you need to find the right company to associate yourself with. Like I said earlier in my presentation, I wasn't the best when I was in college. I was amongst the worst. I barely graduated with a 2-point GPA. And why? Because I hung out with people who wasn't serious about school. I spent more hours hanging out under the tree in the sub than I actually did in class. Why? Because I thought those people were my friends. And yes, they were my friends, but the company you keep is going to influence where you end up in this life. I'm not saying that you need to forsake your friends, but when you have an agenda, when you have a desire to succeed and a desire to do well, you need to make sure that you are always around the people who are going to push you to succeed, who are going to be there to assist you, to correct you, to mentor you, and to guide you that, maybe you should try it this way. Don't be around the black crabbers out here who are always trying to pull you down. And so the struggle is real. And what you see before you is a living testimony of someone who was once a zero. But I was once a zero. But now I like to think that I am an asset, someone that can be used as an instrument to help whoever needs help along life's journey. So, gentlemen, my final encouragement: be all that you can be. Understand your limitations. And always be pushing to be better than what you are. Thank you.
Thank you again, Dr. Ferguson. I really wish I heard those words of encouragement when I was taking 140 and 163. Now, moving on to our next guest, Mr. Ricardo P. Deveaux. Mr. Ricardo P. Deveaux is married to Pamela J. Deveaux, and who's a chartered accountant. They are the proud parents of 2 daughters, Rashay Juanita and Paige Alea Deveaux. He's the eldest son of Edward and Beverly Deveaux, and Ricardo and his family works at St. George's Anglican Church. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please welcome our next speaker, Mr. Ricardo P. Deveaux.
Thank you, Mr. UB, for that kind introduction. Today, a life without purpose, well, is pointless. Yet we give amazingly little thought to what our purpose is. Everyone wants to have a fulfilling life. Unfortunately, many people spend years of their life only to find out that they're not productive. They're not living to their true potential. Others may find fame and fortune, but at the end of the day, they feel empty inside. The great American poet and philosopher Ralph Waldo Emerson says it best when he says, "The purpose of life is not to be happy, but it is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, and to have it make some difference that you would have lived and lived well." A pleasant good afternoon. Today, I'm excited to be here at the UB Men's Conclave to present on understanding your life purpose. I'm excited to be sharing this stage with some awesome brothers who were the trailblazers for me, Keyron Smith and Dr. Joe Ferguson and Carlos Palacious. And I am sorry, but I am glad that I'm not following Rodney Bain. But I'm thankful for the brothers today who led the way. And also I'm excited to be joined by Mr. Baron Frame, CEO of the Black Man Can Incorporated. And I'm excited because Mr. Frame in 2013, I had an opportunity to be a recipient of the Black Man Can Award for Excellence in K through 12 Education for my involvement with the Bahamas Primary School Student of the Year Awards program, and I became the first international recipient of that award. And so, Brother Frame, thank you very much for that. Young men, true life purpose comes from discovering and identifying our core values and recognizing and understanding the essence of who we are and holding a vision of what is possible for us to achieve. Yes, today I want to let you know that the Bible tells us in Jeremiah 29:11, "For I know the plans I have for you, declared the Lord, to prosper you and not to harm you, and to give you hope and a future." Yes, it's all about understanding what is your purpose. But first, I want to let you know, if you're going to understand what our purpose is, I just want to be able to have a discussion with you, young men, because today I want to just leave with you 7 tips about how you're going to fulfill your purpose. The first tip I want to give you is, are you keeping a journal of your plans? A captain, a boat captain, a pilot has a flight plan. A contractor has a floor plan. A movie director has a script. So what do you have? Young people, if you're out there, you have to have a plan for your life. Today, I want to encourage each of you to start to write down the plans for your life. 2, our tip 2 is, what kind of legacy are you planning on leaving behind? Many of us are now thinking that, oh, are you talking about dying now? No. What type of legacy are you planning to leave behind, young men? Let me tell you, I have an awesome wife and 2 amazing daughters, and I want to know, at the end of my life, what would my legacy be to my family? I want to know, what kind of legacy am I leaving for the organization that I am leading now? I want to know, what is the legacy that I'm leaving? Young men, I want you to know that you have to leave a legacy. My 3rd tip is, are you expanding your network of friends? I heard Dr. Joe, who just was before me, said, if you want to hang out, you have to hang out with eagles, not chickens. And that is, if your friends are not doing anything, you are not going to get anywhere. So I'm telling you, hang out with those persons who are taking you to the next level. Those persons, that's why I think this conclave was so good, because those men who went before me, they're the type of men that you want to hang out with. I mean, when I look at Dr. Ferg from Queens College, you just want to hang out with people who are going somewhere. Yes, my 4th tip is, you have to connect with individuals who desire in your desired field. So I heard person talk about Toastmasters 1600. I'm not in Toastmasters, but I am proud to know that when you see those persons in 1600, they are like a true brotherhood. When you see organizations where you are able to find persons who are going on the same road with you, I tell you, join an organization. Join an organization that will assist you in getting to the next level. My tip 5 is, do you have a vision of what you want to achieve out of life? You know, so many times we spend our lives just aimlessly walking around not knowing exactly what we want to do. Well, today, I want to take away from the prepared text, but I want to tell you a story about a broken cup. And I know you were saying that, what is Ricardo going to be talking about, this broken cup? Well, this was a good cup in my house. It fell and the handle broke. And when I saw this cup again, it was thrown in the garbage. Because it was not useful anymore, I took it out of the garbage because I believed that this cup still had purpose. I want to tell you, young men, about a situation about my life that I was like this broken cup, and someone took me out of a garbage and made me who I am. Young man, in 1983, I was attending one of the premier private high schools in the Bahamas. Yes, I know someone will say, is it QC or is it? But in 1983, I was attending St. Augustine's College. I got 3 Fs, 2 Ds in grade 10 and was kicked out by the school. Yes, I had already repeated the 8th grade, and the principal of the school said my time at St. Augustine's had ended. In fact, my parents were told that I should enroll in ITC, the precursor of BTVI. But my parents did not give up on me, and they knew that my life had purpose, and so they sought to enroll me in 2 other private schools. But that did not work. And so, in 1983, the only school that would give this broken child a second opportunity was R.M. Bailey Senior High School. I was so embarrassed to attend a public school, to wear a uniform, a white pants, and a striped shirt reminds me of someone who worked at Kentucky, that I was ashamed to attend. But I can tell you that I was excited because for the next 2 years, I met a high school guidance counselor by the name of Zoe Powell, a teacher by the name of Sharon Poitier, a coach by the name of Charles Chuck Mackey, a principal by the name of Errol Bethel, who did not give up on this young man. I met friends in my class like Keith Bell and Debbie Johnson, who encouraged me, a broken child, that yes, you can. Listen here. In 1983 to 1985, I attended R.M. Bailey, and it's amazing. In June of 1985, I graduated from R.M. Bailey, not with honors, and this is the next part of this story that is interesting, that all of my friends were going to the College of the Bahamas, and I applied to go to the College of the Bahamas, and I did not get in. In 1986, I got into the College of the Bahamas. I got accepted to the College of the Bahamas, but my high school guidance counselor by the Zoe Powell convinced my parents, Edward and Beverly Deveaux, that I could go off to school. Young people, I want to tell you, when you have a purpose on your life, things can happen. And when she was encouraging me to go off to college, I said, a teacher told me with the grades that I have, I'll never be able to get into anyone's college. But I want to tell you, in February of 1986, that high school guidance counselor took me on a college tour at Bethune-Cookman College in Daytona Beach, Florida. 5 days we spent there. And I want to tell you, that's why I tell you, a life of purpose, things happen. And let me tell you, 5 days I went to class, lived in the dorm, ate in the cafeteria. On the 5th day, my high school guidance counselor said, Ricardo, you will return to Bethune-Cookman. She said, you will pledge Alpha Phi Alpha. She said, you will be an honor roll scholar. She said, in your senior year, you will become the student body president. And she says, in your senior year, you will graduate with honors from this school. These are things that never could have been a part of my life. But I want to tell you, in August of 1986, I went to Bethune-Cookman, and the first semester, I got a 3.83. My head was this big. At the end of the freshman year, I was most outstanding freshman. At the end of my sophomore year, I was most outstanding sophomore, most outstanding junior, most outstanding senior. In my senior year, I was the student body president, just like my high school guidance counselor had told me. And let me tell you, on April 23rd, 1990, I graduated from Bethune-Cookman with a Bachelor of Science degree in psychology, the top of my class. For the first time in my life, I was a winner. Young people, I want to tell you, when you have purpose on your life, no one can stop you. But I want to tell you, that is a story about a broken cup. And I can tell you, don't ever allow anyone to tell you that you are broken and cannot return to a life of purpose. Let me tell you, in April 23rd, when I graduated from Bethune-Cookman, I decided that I would go on to do my master's. And I went to a school called Nova Southeastern University. And when I went there, I didn't know no one, but I wanted to make a difference at Nova University. And let me tell you, I went there and became a student body president again at this university. And at the end of my time at Nova University, I decided that I would apply for the Florida College Student of the Year Awards program. Listen here. For the first time, Nova Southeastern University was able to have someone to make it to the finals. I made it to the finals in the Florida College Student of the Year in 1992, the only male and the only student of color. But I want to tell you, not about the awards that I won, but because of the Bahamas, because this young boy from the Bahamas went to Nova Southeastern University and was able to be a part of that awards program. That program inspired me to establish the Bahamas Primary School Student of the Year Awards program, where today over 3,000 of the best primary school students are honored. Young people, if you are broken, you can still become productive, because in your mind you have to believe that you can achieve. Yes, I know that I got off script, but I just want to tell you as I go back to our last two tips. Are you enthusiastic about your life purpose? Are you enthusiastic about what you want to do? And let me tell you, when you have purpose, when you design your life, and I can tell you, once you have that purpose, you'll be excited to get into the great things that you have to do. My final tip, young men, is God a part of your life's purpose? Open yourselves to knowing that God is our greater being. He has a purpose for our life, and if you see yourselves doing something great, I can tell you, God, if you believe in him, he can get us to that great point. Listen here. You have purpose. Life has purpose for you. I want you today to say that, you know what? I'm going to write down the things that I need to do. I'm going to start to hang around with people who are going to get me to the greatest points I need to be. I'm going to be an eagle. I'm not going to be a chicken. I'm going to ensure that the persons who I hang out with will help me to get to the next level. And that's why today I'm grateful for the men who came before me. I'm grateful for the man who's going to come after me, because they are going to be the ones to get us to our next level. Young men, you have purpose, and don't allow anyone to tell you that you are broken and can't be repaired. You have purpose, and I encourage you to go forth. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you so much for that very inspirational story, that even a broken cup can still be used. Rodney D. Bain. Rodney D. Bain has been a member of the Toastmasters programs since August 2014. He has served as the President, Vice President of Education, Treasurer, and currently serves as Vice President of Public Relations of New Providence Branch. Club 3596. He served as the Assistant Area Director, Program Quality Director for Area 92, as well as the Public Relations Manager for the Division F. He's currently the Public Relations Manager for District 47. He's currently a member of Club 3596, Club 7108, ECA TM Club, and Club 1600. Rodney is a writer, speaker, and trainer. With a great passion for youth development, his talents has led him to his book publishing, podcast, video editing, website development, keynote address, and event hosting. With experience in the financial services sector, as well as a background in teaching. This led to the establishment of the service culture firm, a customer service training, and HR service and management constituency firm. Rodney strongly believes that everyone has a purpose. He's here to assist others to uncover theirs. He believes the success of tomorrow is determined by the sacrifice of the day. At this time, please welcome Rodney D. Bain.
Thank you so much, Mr. UB, for the intro. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for taking the time to hear from us, to still see the flyer and say, you know what, let me see what these guys have to say. You've heard from great speakers prior to me, great speakers last month, and I'm no doubt great speakers in the future. And one of the things I heard that was consistent just today was, interesting enough, eagles and chickens. But I have a fun story, not about eagles and chickens, but about a lion. Now, there once was this lion cub who was abandoned by his pride. And he was found by a shepherd. And the shepherd, doing what shepherds do, took the lion cub in amongst the sheep and allowed the lion to live with the sheep. Now, the lion grew up with the sheep, he lived where the sheep lived, he ate what the sheep ate, and he did what the sheep did. So all he knew was how to be a sheep. Until one particular day, the lion cub just sat down and reflected. He doesn't feel like he's a part of the flock. So when they went to graze one day, he gone to the water, and he saw this reflection that startled him, because this was not what he saw around him. Yet, when he looked around, he saw nobody else had that same sense of shock. So he went about his business. But he always had in the back of his mind, maybe I don't fit in there. Until one day, the shepherd led the sheep to this particularly dangerous place to graze. And beyond the pond where they were grazing, this loud bellowing sound came from the forest. And everybody ran away. All the sheep ran away. And the shepherd just looking at the lion cub, trying to beckon the lion cub to come. The lion cub was too scared to move. And out from the forest, out from the trees, emerged a full-grown lion. And the lion looked at the lion cub as almost as beckoning him to say, come, leave that and come with me. The lion cub unsure, looked back, looked forward. He looked back to see that was comfort, that was knowing. He looked forward to see the lion say, I don't know, but something inside me connects with them. Those listening in, we are placed in situations where we are called and beckoned to move into the unknown, to move into unsurety, to tap into that one thing, as Ricardo said, our purpose. But it's scary, but we don't know. But it's inside of us, we know it's there. I call it finding your why. And this evening, for a short time, we're going to discuss the importance of finding your why. Now you may ask yourself, what's why? And why is that even important? Well, you see, for me, one day, many jobs ago, many years ago, I sat to my desk, I looked around, and I said, this is not what you promised me, God. I am not satisfied with this quality of life. I'm not happy with work, I'm not happy with my income. I feel unfulfilled. There has to be more to life than just paying bills and dying. So I literally searched, what is my purpose here? What is my why here? And I scoured the internet, and I found this activity we're going to do in a minute. And why that is so important to me, from that day forward, I do this activity with everybody. Because to me, not knowing your why, not knowing your purpose, you're not fully fulfilling your journey here. We tend to get frustrated when things are not doing what they're supposed to do. But all this, we don't know the extent of the magnitude that we have before us. I had a conversation yesterday, and a friend of mine was upset to say he doesn't understand why we even pay this particular fee. And I simply said to him, if you're paying for a service, say cable, and you have access to 30 channels, and you choose not to go past channel 5, That's on you. Once you realize there's more beyond 5, is your goal to see how far the rabbit hole goes. Not every channel beyond, agreed. But you have to keep on going. You have to keep on beckoning because it's important to understand why. And what it also do when you find your why, you only find your purpose, you find direction. You find direction to say is everything you do when you have that why aligns with that one thing. And all this, that why start makes things not easier, you know. It makes sense. So that means every conversation, every job, every relationship now ties towards that why, what you're doing. And most importantly, and what I've learned as a father, as a husband, as a friend, the longer you take to find your why, the longer you take to find your purpose, the longer those who depend on you will take to find theirs. Imagine you're on a stairwell, a single file stairwell, and you need to go up and access that door because you're afraid, because you're hesitant. Everybody now behind you cannot progress. Now, if you're fine with that, be fine. But I'm not. So I had to go and find out what that why is. I had to go and find out why I'm even on this program, why I'm even qualified to be speaking towards you, why I even should be this far. So if you have a pen or a phone, a lot of people use phone, or if you have great memory, let's go through a simple exercise. We'll talk about this some more. So when I went online, saw a great video, and they taught me how to find my why. The first question you ask yourself, and keep in mind, these aren't overthinking questions, just simple questions. First thing you ask yourself, who are you? Now, this isn't a metaphysical question. This is no over-analytical question. Just who are you? Me, I'm Rodney. Second thing you ask yourself, what are you good at? Now, this doesn't mean what you went to school for or trade school for. No. Just what are you innately good at? Maybe you're like me that said, I'm not good at anything. So that's when you need to start reflecting. What do you enjoy doing the most? I like talking. I like talking to people. I like communicating. And I'm good at it. So you're good at communicating. Who do you do it for? Because as with all of our gifts are not meant to only fulfill ourselves. Our gifts are meant to give. Like a magic pen. You hold it tight, you won't have any. Lend it, spend it, you have so many. They roll over the floor. Third thing is who you do it for. Fourth thing is why do they come to you? Why do these people come to you when they need something done? And the last question, how are they different once they leave you? 5 questions. Who are you? What are you good at? Who you do it for? Why do they come to you? And lastly, how are they different once they leave you? Now, that's my line reward to you. If you're interested, just a little bit more information, reach out to me at Rodney@serviceculturefirm.com. Let's have a conversation. That's Rodney@serviceculturefirm.com. Let's have this conversation. Because really and truly, when we find out why, it makes things just a little bit clearer, and I can explain to you why it's that. And I tell people, purpose and profession aren't the same thing. Your purpose is what you give to God. Your profession is what you give to Caesar. Some people can intertwine the two, but don't feel bad if it's not intertwined. And that's fine. Now, once we now are inclined to know what our why is. So then, when we do these 5 questions, it's not going to say exactly what your why is, you know. It's going to point you in the right direction. Again, it's only a roar. You still have to take that step forward to find a way to go in the right direction. But one of the things we need to start at is self. Service starts at the home. So ask yourself, when you're having a dialogue, are you being nice to yourself? Simply. Are you giving yourself words of love? Are you giving yourself affirmations? Now, if you don't have any affirmations, or simply if you do not know what affirmations are usually positive statements, repeated over and over with the intent of leaving a purpose behind. So I have some affirmations I'd like to repeat. If you don't mind, repeat it aloud, because it's not for me to hear, but for your own spirit to hear. 1, I am an awesome person. Don't unmute, just say it to yourself. I am an awesome person. 2,
I am an awesome person.
way to go. I believe in myself. Dawn.
I believe in myself.
I can make good choices.
I
Right?
can make the best choices.
My best is enough.
My best will always be enough.
I will have a great day no matter what.
It's going to
I will have a great day no matter what.
I will have a great day no matter
You got solid eye, solid self. I can be anything I want to be.
I can be anything I want to be.
I don't know everything, and that's okay.
I don't know everything.
I am valuable.
I am valuable.
Everybody in the room, I am loved.
I am loved.
One thing we tend not to do is give ourselves our grace that we give everybody else. We don't tend to talk nice, especially as men. We tend to not think that we need that affirmation or we need that comfort and that guidance and our purpose. But that's wrong. We all are having human experiences that we need to be properly guided through. And one way is you can find that guidance is to reach out. Once you realize, like I say, you don't know everything and it's okay, reach out to somebody. Ask them to say, hey, Ricardo, how do you do this? Hey, Rambert, please help me understand this part of it. Because in that humility is when we now find ourselves and realize that we are now open to be assisted. Because when you find your why, when you find your purpose, when you find your being, you realize that you live in a world of abundance. This is not a competition. Just because somebody is successful does not mean you cannot be successful. Nobody's competing with you to be you. There's a mathematical equation, interestingly enough. There is a 1 in 400 trillion chance of there being another you. You are the prototype, the carbon copy, the blueprint, all that wrapped in one. Don't lose sight of that. And one thing is very important too on this journey is be willing to give. Be willing to give yourself of service. Be willing to give yourself in your purpose. Because in our giving is when we find ourselves as well. Once you realize that we are in a community again, we are in a community of abundance. That because I help somebody doesn't mean I'm not going to be helped. We understand that we are in this together, we benefit even more. And when we find ourselves, when we find our why, that's not the end of the journey. One of the things we have to do is set goals for ourselves. And we have the acronym all the time, the SMART goals. But my wife, growing up, one of her favorite stories was and is Alice in Wonderland. I there's a scene in Alice in Wonderland where the Cheshire Cat and Alice has a conversation. Alice is not necessarily lost, but she's aloof and not sure where she's going. And then she asks the Cheshire Cat, which road do I take? Cheshire Cat asks, well, where do you want to go? Alice then says, well, it doesn't matter. The cat then simply replies, any road takes you there. You see, we have to have some sort of idea of where we want to go in order for people to help us. Again, you're not expected to have all the answers, just have something. Just have an inclination. My own was, this current situation is not the answer. So I need to move forward. I don't want to stay. I don't want to go back. So I just want to move forward. And you find persons along the way. So again, you have the SMART goals, specific goals, measurable goals, attainable, relatable, time-sensitive goals. Those goals are very important because they help you get to that next step. Then you ask yourself, well, looking at everybody else around me, what makes me different from them? Like, what's stopping me from being me? Think about it. Whether you say something, you can do it. Whether you say you can't do it, that's going to be true. So are you the person who's speaking yourself out of the blessings? Are you the person who's saying, you know what? That person better than me, that person smarter than me, person whatever than me? Are you the person who's taking away from yourself? 2, is somebody in your circle doing enough for you? Is your network one that is a net that's casting you down rather than allowing you to be in abundance? And most importantly, why not? If you truly believe, like I do, that this entire universe can bend for you if you want it bad enough, then go and get it. I tell persons all the time when I'm teaching them, in my belief system, I believe that the same energy that created the birds, the bees, the mountains, and the stars is inside of me. And I can cast those things into existence. I tell people, be mindful of what you're saying, because if you wake up and say, this is going to be a bad day, then you know what? It's going to be a bad day. If you tell yourself this is going to be the best day I've ever had, then you know what? It's going to be the best day you've ever had. My wife and I, and a friend of ours, Jay, we pegged this word for the year called audacity. Have the audacity to ask. Have the audacity to go and have the audacity to work for it. Plenty of people are at a table because they had the audacity to go on that table. Plenty of people are successful because they had the audacity, the gall, the unmitigated gall to say, I want that, and go get it. You have that same thing in you. No one is smarter than you being you. They might have more skill in a particular area, but they're not better at being you than you are being you. So be that you. Understand the importance of that. But as the most things, I know Carlos, before he left, we had a conversation. And we just talked about just different names for success. And one thing he said was profound, is that he tries his endeavor best to bring persons with him. And for me, in that wide journey, that's the same thing. Find the right persons to bring alongside you, because you need someone to tell you, Rodney, you're messing up. Ricardo, this ain't looking right. Remember, try again. Because if you don't have that person to keep you accountable, keep you firm, you're going to be lost. So I need you to find. When you find your why, find that right network of people, find that right mindset, and find the right purpose. But I don't care how many of these conclaves you go to, how many books you read, how many YouTube videos you watch. If you don't apply this information, it's going nowhere. To end with a chicken story, there once was a group of turkeys who happened across an eagle. And they said, Mr. Eagle, please teach us how to fly. We see you soaring up high, please teach us how to fly. The eagle spent his entire afternoon. Say, you know what? Let's teach you how to fly. So he went through the motions, he went through the lift off, he went through the take off, he went through the soar, taught him how to fly. By sundown, the turkeys had the ability to take off and soar in the sky. And at the end of the session, they say, Mr. Eagle, we thank you so much for teaching us how to fly. We now know how to fly. And they walked home. Don't be that. Don't learn the skill set to change your life and don't apply it to your life. Plenty of persons are calling out to you. Plenty of persons are waiting on you to be the greatest version of you. Once you find that, don't let it go. Be the best version of yourself, because you all need that. And as we leave, I like to leave you with something simply so you understand how to take this to the next level. I personally have my affirmations, my children have their affirmations, my wife have affirmations. I want to encourage you to find at least 7 positive things to say for yourself. Write it down, repeat it every morning. Start with the words I am. Whether it's I am purposeful, I am loved, I am awesome, I am great, I am rewarding, I am winning, I am abundant, whatever it is. Write it down and be disciplined with it. The next thing, especially in this upcoming new year, find at least 3 things that you want to accomplish in this year. The average person can tell you December sneaked up on us, because time doesn't wait. So we need to put things on perspective, write 3 things to say you want to accomplish. And when you write those 3 things out, give it to somebody to hold for you. Because that person will be an accountability partner. And accountability partners are very much so important, because they're going to help you achieve your goals. The next thing is I need you to find a way to be of service to somebody. Because when you can give away your gift, give away your purpose, give away your why, it's when you find that even more. So find ways to manifest that in gift giving. And the last thing I need you to remember, give yourself grace. Give yourself grace to understand that falling down is not failure. Tripping is not failure. Not hitting the mark is not failure. Failure is not believing in yourself. Understand that you have never seen this day before. And understand and embrace that that's okay. I like to close with a poem that I came across, because it speaks about change. And as young men, I think this is so important to hear, because I think any old man would say, if someone told me this, what I am telling you, I'll be in a better place. When I was young, I wanted to change the world. I found it difficult to change the world, so I tried to change my nation. When I found I couldn't change my nation, I began to focus on my town. I couldn't change the town, and as an older man, I tried to change my family. Now as an old man, I realized the only thing I can change is myself. And suddenly I realized that if long ago I changed myself, I could have made an impact on my family. My family and I could have made an impact on our town. Their impact could have changed the nation, and I could have indeed changed the world. Young men, you are something this older generation do not have. Youth. Embrace the youth, embrace the time, do not waste it. You have had plenty of people roaring their ears all night, last month moving forward. You are now that lion cub who looked at it in yourself and be like, there's more to life than this. But you need to make a decision. Am I going to cross that threshold into the unknown, into my purpose, into my why, into success? Or am I going to stay here in comfort and not knowing? We only get called. We cannot force you. But do know, when you cross that threshold, we are here to receive you. Thank you so much.
All who have attended, thank you so much for, like I say, attending this live recording that we have today. It's our pleasure to introduce Brandon Frame, somebody I can personally introduce. I was pleasured to meet him because of a coincidental meeting at one of his conferences between a young lady and a Bahamian, Miss soon-to-be Dr. Condra Knowles, and himself, where we would exchange contacts and begin conversations. Once hearing of the excitement that he shared for just inspiring the young men in not only his community, but his nation, we knew that this is someone that we need to have as a fellow and a brother in the Bahamas. It is my pleasure to introduce somebody I can call a brother, a friend, who makes great eggs and toast, who cares for you, and definitely is bringing a message that's going to transform your lives. Once again, thank you for joining us. This recording is going to be broadcast at a later time, but we thank him for his time and for the pleasure of the message that he's going to share. Now introducing Mr. Brandon Frame.
Thank you so much. Truly honored to be here and to share a little bit of a message. I had the opportunity to come to the Bahamas at the beginning of 2020 before the world shut down. It was my last international trip. And we were able to do a conference and spend some time in the Bahamas, and young men from all over the island came to the University of Bahamas to participate in the conference that we did with UB Men. And so again, it's just an honor to be invited back to speak with you and share a message. Definitely want to shout out Ricardo, who gave us a bit of a shout out, but I remember when we were doing the Black Man Can Awards online, and he was our first international honoree. So we have our ties to the Bahamas going all the way back to 2013. So the title of my message today is Define Yourself, Redefine the World. Because I think I'm just listening to what everyone else already said, all this amazing speakers. And I feel like this is one way to sum up some of where they are now. And for those watching, thinking about the impact that they want to make on the world. So first thing is to define who you are in terms of your identity and what you want to do in life, so that then you can redefine the world and create the change that you want to see. So moving forward, to start that off, I want to anchor us in a quote that from one of my favorite people to quote is Dr. Benjamin Elijah Mays, who was the 6th president of Morehouse College. I had the fortunate opportunity to attend Morehouse College. So everybody, feel free to take a look and learn more. Morehouse College is a historically Black college in Atlanta, Georgia, for men. And he says, every man and woman is born into this world to do something unique and something distinctive. If he or she does not do it, it will never be done. And so right there, that right there tells us that every single person listening, every single person watching, there is something that we are supposed to do in the world. And if we don't do it, it will not be done. It will not happen, right? So first we have to own that message and really internalize that for us. I received this when I was 17 years old as a freshman at Morehouse College. I had no idea what that was going to be for me, but it was ingrained into me that there was something unique and distinctive that I'm supposed to contribute to society. And so I think I want all of us to really hone in on that and think about that quote today, tomorrow, and as we move forward in terms of the thing that you're supposed to do or the things that you're going to do that contribute to an amazing society. So this is a little bit about me. This is me now, right? So I've won some awards and, you know, been on the cover of a few magazines. And it's been really cool. I've been able to live a pretty cool and interesting life up here, up to 33 years of age. And so that's me now. And, you know, we have all these followers on Instagram, all these different things. And it's amazing to have walked that journey. But it also starts with like me saying, again, defining myself. And so who am I? I just see myself as a role model, a scholar, and a gentleman. That's the definition that I've come up with myself. So I implore everyone thinking about, well, what are the 3 or 4 words, adjectives, nouns that describe who you are? And so I have some pictures, right, that represent this, right? This top left-hand corner is actually a young man in Minnesota who, for his Black History Month project, did a project on me. I've never met this young man, I've only been to Minnesota once or twice in my life, but I was a Black History Month project. The bottom left-hand picture is my family, so it's my mom and my siblings. So just, again, I'm just a guy who really is trying to do my part to make a difference in the community under that banter, role model, scholar, and gentleman. The top right hand is part of the work that we do with the Black Men Can is handing out ties and teaching young men across the world how to tie ties. And so that's that picture. And then the bottom right hand is me. Before, who knew that I would do all the different things? That's me at 3 years old with the $1 million smile. Because that's something that I really hold near and dear. It's a hashtag that I use when I post pictures. So that's a little bit about who I am, just to give you a grounding of just that I'm a role model, scholar, and gentleman. So moving forward. So now I ask, who are you, right? These pictures all represent something. So first, I'm gonna start from the right actually, and then go to the left. I know that's not our normal progression in terms of reading, but the first one is, I call you king, not as a term of endearment, but as a reminder, right? So first, it makes us remind us that we are kings. We come from kings and queens. We come from royalty, and that's that next one. I got loyalty, got royalty inside my DNA from the amazing poet and artist Kendrick Lamar. And then that ties into that last picture in terms of the idea of who are you, right? And so this picture, many of us would probably recognize it. It's from The Lion King. And so I always think about this image because if you've seen the movie, you know at this point in time, he is looking into the water, right? And Rafiki is like, look into the water. Right. And when he looks into the water, he's like, he sees his reflection. It's like, I don't recognize him. I don't know who that is, right? And then he says, look again, right? And then Mufasa kind of comes through the sky. He's like, remember who you are, right? Remember that you are a king, right? And at this point, he returns back to Pride Rock, right? To restore Pride Rock back to its a grandeur and amazingness, right? And I always think about how that is for many of us, right? Just as men, as we think about the things that we want to do and accomplish, one of the first things we have to do is remember who we are, define who we are so that we can be leaders within our community. Sometimes we do get sidetracked. If you think about the movie, you know, Simba, he went through some trauma, right? With Mufasa passing away or being murdered, you know, according to in the movie. And so he goes through this trauma and he loses that sense of identity, loses that sense of who he is. He's in the jungle, hanging out with Timon and Pumbaa, eating bugs. Sense, center us back to remember who you are, right? And so that we can continue to develop and define who we are so that we can go out and lead communities. So as we think about leading our communities, that next point is to, when you make an observation, you have an obligation, right? So that's another quote that I'm leaving with you is, once you make an observation, you have an obligation. Everyone here sees and hears things that they like or don't like every single day. right? Those are observations. So then we have an obligation, right, to move forward and take that, push forward, to make it happen. And so I want to give you an idea of kind of what that has looked like for me. So here are some of the different things I made observations about, starting with the Black Man. The Black Man Can is a nonprofit organization from a lifestyle brand. We do lots of events across the world. We do lots of events online. We have almost 860,000 followers on Instagram. But it came out of the idea that I made an observation that Black men and boys needed to see positive images of themselves and needed to have their stories told. So therefore we created it. And so then that's how the Black Man Can came to be. Then you see here, it says Hip Hop Ed. So this is a organization focused on the intersection of hip hop and education and how we can use hip hop to move education forward. And so co-founded that alongside Dr. Christopher Emden. But it came out of making an observation that there was a missing link in terms of making sure we link hip hop and education together. There's the book, My First Tie, which is a children's book where little Dell learns how to tie his tie for the first time with his dad. And so that came out of the idea, like I hadn't seen a book that really chronicled this father and son experience of learning how to tie a tie. I made that observation, so then I had an obligation, right? So I'm giving you all these things in terms of me, because I'm sharing that message with you, because we all make observations every single day. And so therefore we have obligations to follow through. And so those observations, as you see here, are ideas, are spiritual children. What I believe is that ideas are spiritual children seated by God inside of us. And he places the people around us and gives us the tools around us in order to manifest those ideas into reality. So when you make that observation and you move forward with the obligation, there are people and tools around you so that you can manifest them into reality. The next piece, as you think about those ideas and you try to manifest them, you can't let social media rush you, right? I'm fortunate that some of these things that I made or created, or I had that obligation, I was able to do it before social media is what it is. There was no TikTok, and some of this stuff, there wasn't even an Instagram, right? And so a lot of times we can all relate. We're all on the different social media platforms, and we allow the imagery and the messages sometimes to co-opt us, and thinking that when I need to be successful tomorrow, microwave success, overnight success, when actually it takes almost 10 years to be an overnight success, right? But we have to put that work in. So you can't let social media rush you on your journey to create and impact society. What I always like to say is that comparison is the thief of joy, right? Comparison is the thief of joy. So we want to really make sure that we don't let social media rush us, so that we can actually impact our communities and not allow social media to say, oh, like if I haven't done this, or if my blessings haven't come in this time. The last thing I'll share with this is that one thing I've realized in life, and I know that many of the speakers will probably attest to this too, is that it actually takes longer than you think it actually takes to do a lot of different things. So even the timeline that you may put together, it actually takes longer than that for certain things to actually manifest into reality. The next piece, as I get closer to just closing out the message for today, is that the next piece, as you do these things, again, is I kind of slightly mentioned on it, but want to hone in, is show me your friends and I'll show you your future, right? You want to make sure you put the team and the squad around you. I'm so appreciative of Rembert, who we were connected through Kendra Knowles. And so I consider him a friend, and he's in my circle. And so it's so important to have that amazing group of men and women, right? You want to have women in that circle as well. Very important, because if you just have men, the truth of the matter is that we have we have, right? And so that you keep women in your circle as well, not in a romantic way, literally as a friend, so that you can take in some of their thoughts, because they see things that we don't see, right? So show me your friends and I'll show your future. So as we come to a close, this is the message that I'm gonna leave with as you think about that there's something unique and distinctive that you are supposed to do in life, right? That that you make observations, so you have an obligation, right? So we see here these 3 different products, right? So the first one here, I'm gonna start from with 7-Up, right? And so maybe people here have had 7-Up, the soda. 7-Up, the reason why it's called 7-Up is because it took them 7 different formulas before they got all the right chemicals together to make 7-Up that we drink today, right? Next one is WD-40. The reason why it's called WD-40 is because it stands for water displacement, WD, made on the 40th try, right? Water displacement perfected on the 40th try, right? And so because of that, you have WD-40. So it took them 40 times. And the last one here is 409, which is something that many may have in their house to clean their homes. It's a cleaning agent that you use in the kitchen or the bathroom. It's called 409 because it took them 409 times before they got all the right chemicals together to make 409 that people use today, right? Everybody that's watching right now, everybody that's listening can think of something that they started and on the second time they quit. They said it was too hard, they couldn't do it, it's not worth it, right? But the truth of the matter is that if you're persistent and you're consistent, each one of these products has made over $1 billion since they've been created, right? Over $1 billion. But what that represents is dreams inside of you. There are $1 billion, $1 million dreams inside of each and every person here, right? So you make that, you know that there's something unique and distinctive that you're supposed to do. You make that observation. So you had an obligation, right? You have the tools and the people placed around you because you've been placed with these ideas. But even in doing that, and as you move through this process, right, it might take 7 times. It might take 40 times. And it just might take 409 times for some of your ideas, the goals to actually manifest in order for them to become great, right? But if you're persistent, if you show perseverance and you are consistent, then those dreams can become reality and you can make the impact into your community and into your country and into society if you follow through on that perseverance and consistency. So that concludes my presentation. Again, I want to hone in the major points here, right? As we talk about today, is that we want to define ourselves so we can redefine the world. We start there with that unique and distinctive thing that you're supposed to do. You make observations, right? So therefore you have an obligation to follow through on that, right? But in this process, make sure you remember who you are. Define yourself, remember who you are and the stock in which you come from. We walk in the footsteps of giants. I appreciate Rember for having me as the keynote speaker, and now I'll open it up to any questions. Thank you.
So thank you again, Brandon, for that amazing speech. And it shows that, after the second, third, and sometimes 400 times, you just can't give up. I would actually take the opportunity to thank all the speakers who took time out of their busy schedules today to encourage the young men who came and attended this conference. I would like to thank all the young men who took time out of their busy schedule on a Sunday to receive the inspiring words that each man had to give to them. Now, the purpose of this conference is that we're going to give you the tools and the words, and it's up to you. And what you decide what you're going to do with it. And we're giving you the tools to go there in the world to be a better man and to be a better leader for your community. So once again, we thank you all for tuning in to the UB Young Men Conference.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.